Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me again. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite people in the Bible, outside of Jesus, of course. But we're going to be talking about Joseph. So I've been thinking about this story of Joseph for a while, for the last, I would say, like couple months. And it's because I feel like we are in very similar situations. So I have been in a waiting season for the past, I want to say, few years. I've been waiting and praying for a job, just stability. I've been waiting and praying to be in a relationship. And I've been praying more recently just to like hear from the Lord directly. None of these prayers have really been answered. The job, yes, it's kind of been answered, but I haven't really received stability within a job. It's just been really hard, honestly. The last few years have been really difficult. They've been testing. They've been, I know, just like growing my faith and trust in the Lord. But they've been really hard. They've been really, really hard. And this waiting season, I think I'm at a point where I'm just tired. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of praying for these things. I'm tired of waiting for these things. I'm tired of waiting for the Lord to work and move and for me to not see him, and I've grown weary. I've grown very weary, and I'm just ready to just like call it quits. So comment down below if you've ever felt that way. In this waiting season, waiting period, me and some friends were actually going through the book of Genesis, and it really had me recall like all the ways that the Lord had his people wait for things, wait for his promises. So like I think of Abraham. God promised him that he would have Isaac, and that didn't come to like, my notes over here, so I'm going to be like looking over here. But that didn't come to like at least 10 years. Isaac didn't come till like 10 years after, maybe more, after the promise that God originally gave Abraham. And then I think of Joseph, right? Joseph had a dream that his brothers and his parents were going to bow down before him. And this didn't come till like 10 years after his dream. And when I think about Abraham, right, and I think about Joseph, comparing those two, and there's so many more, like there's so many more people in between them. But I think about Abraham and how he responded in his waiting period, and think about Joseph and how he responded. And for those of you who don't know, Abraham, him and Sarah, his wife, were like, after a couple years, I believe it was, they're just like, we're gonna take things into our own hands, and we're gonna have, they had Abraham sleep with Sarah's servant, Hagar, and then that begat Abimelech. Abimelech? Was it Abimelech? I think it was Abimelech. Ishmael. I don't know. Abimelech came out of nowhere. Ishmael. That begat Ishmael, and then chaos kind of ensued. Then with Joseph, there's this one particular verse. I believe it is verse 41, and it shows you how he responded when he was waiting. Okay, so I'm gonna read it. So to give you context, verse 40 is right after Potiphar's wife tells Potiphar that Joseph tried to like seduce her, basically, when she was actually doing that to Joseph. And so because of this, because of what Potiphar's wife said to Potiphar, what's funny, I don't think they ever give her name. I think it's just like Potiphar's wife. But so after this happens, after Potiphar learns about what happens, he has Joseph locked up. So I'm going to start with Genesis 40, verse 1. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." So after that, the cupbearer tells Joseph what his dream was, and then Joseph interprets it, and then the chief baker also tells Joseph, and Joseph also interprets his dream. But I remember just like thinking back on this section and just thinking back on Joseph's response. So Joseph was wrongly accused, right, by Potiphar's wife, and he's put in prison. Don't you know, if that would have happened to me, I would have been like sulking and just like, "God, why are you doing this? Like, why was I wrongly accused?" Just I would have been throwing a pity party, and just like, what's going on? Why is this happening? But here we see Joseph. So I think the verse that really stands out, well, there's a couple, but where is it? When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" Honestly, it kind of like almost brings me tears, because Joseph was going through his own crap, but he decided to show compassion on this cupbearer and this baker. I'm definitely going off script. I'm just kind of rolling with it right now. And I think I was supposed to kind of do like these are two things, but I'm just rolling with it. So I'm hoping this will make sense. Joseph looked at them, saw they were dejected, and said, What's wrong? He asked them what's wrong. And that was just so convicting to me, that he showed compassion, that he saw their needs, and he asked them about it. He didn't just turn a blind eye. He didn't just look away. He looked towards them. And that was just so convicting for me, because whenever I'm in a waiting season, it's so easy for me to get so self-absorbed, so inner focused, so caught up in my own self, caught up in my own needs, caught up in how self-preservation, right? And I get into a, what do you call it? Safety, what is it? There's a term for it, like a psychological term. I can't think of it now. But yeah, just like self-preservation. Like, I need to figure this out for myself, and I cannot focus on anyone else around me, because I need to figure out how I'm going to get through this season. But Joseph was like, nah, like, let me see what's going on. Let me show compassion. Let me show empathy. Let me reach out and see what's going on with these two people. And I think it's such a good question to ask, like, when we are in our own waiting seasons, to not just be focused on ourselves. And I know it's hard, because like, I'm like the queen of self-preservation, honestly. Ask any of my friends. I'm the queen of self-preservation. And especially when I'm waiting for something, or things just are not going my way, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to take care of myself, But in our waiting seasons, I think it's important that we begin to turn our focus and our shift from ourselves to other people. How can we be serving other people? Has God put people in our lives who need help, who need a hand, who need to be shown empathy, who need to be shown compassion? Who has God put around us, and why? So that's like that's something that was super convicting for me, just an act of Joseph that he did while he was in his own waiting season. The second thing that Joseph did that I think we can learn from when we're in our own waiting season and waiting period is he continued to use his gifts. So if you know anything about the story of Joseph, the first, I think kind of like the first introduction of Joseph is when he tells his dream, this dream that he has to his family. First he tells it to his brothers, then he tells it to his father. And I don't actually know if he interpreted it. I don't think he did, but he told this dream to his brothers and his father, and I think he understood what it meant. And I believe in the end, and I believe that his father like ends up interpreting it, because his father Jacob also has the gift of interpreting dreams. But while he is in prison, right, he interprets the dreams of the cupbearer and the baker. And he didn't have to do it. You know, he asked him what was wrong, and he could have stopped there. But verse 12, Joseph first interprets the cupbearer's dream, and he tells him what the meaning of it is. And then in verse, I think it's 18, in verse 18 and 19, he interprets the baker's dream, and then tells him what it means. One of them's good, one of them's not great. But Joseph used his gifts in his waiting season. While he was in prison, while he was falsely accused, he uses his gifts that the Lord gave him. And that was a huge thing for me too, just thinking through again, right? Like going back to the idea of being inward focused, being in a place of self-preservation. It's easy for us to just focus on ourselves, but I think that God calls us when we're in our waiting seasons to use our gifts. Even though it's a waiting season, it doesn't mean that God's not doing anything, right? I think I've learned as I've been in this period of life is God uses all these things for our good. He's using this to prune us. He's using this to prune me. He's using this to help me grow in gifts, to learn more about myself, and it's not a waste of time. So as you're in your own waiting period and waiting season, begin to think about what are the gifts that God has given you already, and how can you be using them. So for me, honestly, that's what this channel is. I really feel like the Lord has been putting on my heart to create a YouTube channel and to be able to just encourage people and share about different things that I've gone through within my own life and my own spiritual walk. And I do love encouraging people. I love studying the Word. I love digging into the Word and all that kind of stuff. So I think that this is something the Lord's placed on my heart and is calling me to do. And I wouldn't really be doing this if I had a full-time job, you know. And I'm also working on creating a baking business and trying to do that. And I wouldn't be doing that if I had a full-time job. So God's taken different things away from me so I can invest in these gifts and these skills that He's given me. And I need to be doing that in this time. So yeah, I don't know, just a good question for you to think through. What are the gifts that God has given you, and how can you be using them right now as you're waiting for whatever it is that you're praying for whatever it is you're believing God for? How can you be showing compassion to other people, and how can you be using your gifts for other people? So those are the two things that, the two just actions of Joseph that I've been dwelling on a lot in this season. And I don't know, hopefully you find that encouraging in some way, and hopefully it gives you a different insight into the life of Joseph and what we can be pulling from his example, right? So I know this waiting season is hard, but this can be a season of growth, of pruning, of thinking about others more than thinking about yourself. And though you may not see God's hand in this time, He is doing something good for you. I hope this was encouraging in some way, and I hope you found this to be a blessing in some way. Be sure to share with anyone who is also in a waiting season, who you feel may be encouraged by anything that I said. All right, take care, y'all, and be blessed.